Welcome to the webinar about microprocessor and the microcontroller. So let's begin. So table of contents, what things we are going to cover in this entire webinar. The first and foremost important thing is introduction and overview. In this, we will be discussing about the introductory part of microcontrollers and the microprocessors. Then we'll give an overview about how the microprocessors and the microprocessors, microcontrollers are available and like how they behave according to their nature. Then we'll work on the fundamentals. What are the differences we are having in the microcontroller and processors? After that, we'll be discussing about the tools and software available at the different phases of the microcontroller or processor manufacturing as well as uses. Then we'll discussing about the evaluation in the field and the recent trends. What are the microcontrollers present, how it got discovered and the other things. Then we'll be discussing about the case study and then we'll be discussing on the career path, job roles and the job opportunities in the microcontroller and the processor domain. So starting over with the microprocessors. Uh, at this, like when we started, we have seen that there are we were talking about microcontroller and microprocessors, but there is one word common which we use called micro. So here we for begin with we first need to discuss about the micro technology. The micro technology is the technology where we consider or we shrink the hardware or the component to 10 to the power minus 6 meters, which is a micrometer range. And on that level, we do the computation. It has added advantages, and that's why the researchers have seen the promising component manufacturing and the uses in the multiple devices. It could be the automotive or whatever handheld devices we see now. We see that it's actually the profitable for the production as well as the use. That's why the micro technology came in picture for the processor implementation and for the controller implementation. Now begin with the microprocessors. The microprocessor is the computer processor. Actually, it is the processor is used for the computational arithmetic logical unit we have, and we do the manipulation and many things we need to do for to activate a process or to do one particular process for a particular device or application. So that for that we use this processor. It uses the data processing logic, and the control is entire control is built inside a single chip, which is like on the right side you see the image is it's a microprocessor. Then it contains the subsystem. The first and foremost important thing is the central processing unit, which includes the arithmetic logical unit, control circuitry, and the registers. We'll speak about this in detail in the next slide. But to just give an overview of it, ALU is the arithmetic logic unit. As its name suggests, it does the arithmetic as well as logical manipulations, and it provides the output. Control circuitry is the circuitry which controls entire process of this processor or the manipulation or the scheduling part or whatever we consider as a job. It manages all the controlling circuitry, and the registers are for the manipulation purpose. When we take any process for the microprocessor, all this data we put it into the registers and the manipulation happens accordingly. Now coming to the microcontrollers. Microcontroller is the small computer, we can say, which is made up of the MOS technology ICs. You may see that microcontroller, if you get the IC of microcontroller and the microprocessor, you may not differentiate of them, but the internals, what they are having differentiates the behavior of those particular ICs, and that differentiates the microcontroller from the microprocessors. It essentially contains one or more processor cores, So when I'm saying one or more processor cores, it is having a single processor, but it is having multiple CPUs present for the faster execution of a particular task or the process. It also includes the programmable input outputs, peripheral devices, and the memory inbuilt to the microcontroller chip. It is having RAM or the flash programmable memory or the ROM. All this RAM, ROM, IO devices, all this input, all these parameters or peripherals are included into the single chip of microcontroller, but which is not in the case of microprocessors. So microprocessors are actually designed for the general purpose computations. As we have seen, we are having a personal computers, we have laptops. So those devices are used for the general purpose applications. It like we can use Microsoft Words, and there are n number of applications. We just install it into the computer and we use it accordingly. But on the other hand, microcontrollers do not have this leverage. It's mostly the task specific implementation, we would say, or we can say that it could be used for the embedded system application. So when we are saying a microcontroller, you may have seen the washing machine. So the washing machine is having a one way that we just press few buttons and it does the designated work accordingly. So for the applications like micro washing machines, we may not require microprocessors in it, but definitely a microcontroller can does it work, and we get washed clothes. So it's the output we get, like what we expect. Now coming back to the architecture part, uh, on the left side we see the microprocessor architecture, and on the right side we see the microcontroller architecture. Uh, if you can see over here, the processor package is mapped into the white box, and the controller package includes all the peripheral circuitries and the inputs over here. But if you see each and every block, you see that some more or less all the blocks are same over here. So to explain you the arithmetic logic unit. So ALU is present in microprocessor as well as it is present in microcontrollers. It is having its own control unit. Yes, it is there. It is having a memory section. Yes, it is also there. It is having IO controls. Yes, we have IO controls over here. But the basic difference, you may have seen that the collectivity of the microprocessor and the microcontrollers. So processor is only having the arithmetic logic unit and the processing unit and some cache memory or maybe the register memory, while the other peripheral is outside its box. Means we can interface this IO systems, bus control, main memory unit. We can interface to it with the help of bus controllers, and we can use we can use a microprocessor. To give an example, we have a personal computer. So let's take an example. We want to assemble one computer. So what we are going to do, that we go to the market, we buy a particular processor, and we look into the multiple options for RAM, multiple options of SDD, hard disk, and multiple IO devices. We could assemble it as per the configuration, and we can make an entire computer. But the same thing, if we do it over here on the right side, microcontroller, what we can see over here, that microcontroller is having the entire arithmetic logic unit and all the IO devices or IO input and the timer circuitries. So in the microprocessor, we could have said that I want a 4 GB of RAM or maybe 8 GB of RAM, but that is not in case of microcontroller. It is not a assemblability present in the microcontroller. So microcontroller manufacturer manufactures its own controller with predefined specifications of all the peripheral devices, and we need to use the entire microcontroller as is. We cannot on top of that, we cannot do any upgradation over here. So if we see over here, the arithmetic logic unit, as I mentioned earlier, is used for doing the arithmetics and the logical changes. How it does it's just a brain of the whatever process we are feeding in, or whatever input we are providing in, whatever modifications want to do, or whatever computations we want to do. All these computations happens into the arithmetic logic unit. How it does, it is having a register memory. So microprocessor is also having its own registers. There could be a temporary registers which take the inputs from the external circuitries. There may be maybe the OS fed in those processes to the register memory, and the processor controls all these processes and the task, and it feeds to the arithmetic logic unit with the help of registers. After doing this manipulation, we get an output, and we could interface it to the IO system, or maybe the like memory section. It could be the memory manipulations we may have, or maybe the input output section, like maybe the keyboard input or the mouse input we are having. So all these manipulations are done through the arithmetic logic unit, as well as it is having for the supporting purpose, or to just avoid the delay to the processing purpose, we have a register memory which feeds into the ALU, and it does the work. Here on the left side, we do see the cache memory. Cache memory is having an importance that we can consider it as a buffer. Actually, what happens when we configure a processor to a multiple IO systems, or the memory external memory systems, there could be a mismatch in the communication, or there could be n number of factors which will impact on the behavior, or which will impact on the processing of this microprocessor. So just to avoid that, we have added the microprocessor have added a cache memory unit. What it does, if you are accessing few things, like few memory sections, or if you are doing repetitive processes, then it stores those particular data into the cache memory, just to avoid the delay in the communication. So when we consider that part, we consider the basic communication to execute a particular process, that fetch, decode, and execute. So for this particular communication, or for this particular pipeline execution, it is necessary that we should have the optimum way of implementing the applications, or optimum way of implementing the code. And if it is not there, then this cache memory comes into the picture, and it takes all the input. And if we are repetitively accessing some memory location or some data, then it stores that particular memory into the cache memory unit, or cache memory section. We have a cache control over there, and it controls all this manipulation, and it provides the faster data to the arithmetic logic unit for the faster processing purpose. Now on the right, on the here, like on the right side of the microprocessor, we see the IO system. So in the IO system, we have a network connectivity, we have an input connectivity, we have a output connectivity. So we have a multiple device. As I've mentioned you the example of computer, we could connect printer to it, we could connect keyboard to it, we could connect mouse to it. There are multiple peripheral input output devices. There could be the network devices as well, which we may connect it to the USB, or there are other peripheral connectivities to the personal computer. So all this connectivity will be controlled by the IO controls, the input output controls, and this controls has to be passed, or has to be managed, or the communicate to the microprocessor with the bus controller. And as I mentioned, we have a memory unit, which is undivided part of any system. This memory unit is also having a memory control, and the manipulation, what we does into the register, it gets stored into the memory section, or again, it can receive the data from the memory, or it can write into the memory. So this is the actual architecture or of microprocessor, where I'm repeating again, the microprocessor unit is consist of only the ALU, maybe the control unit, and few register part. Why it is not the case with the microcontrollers? Here, as I mentioned earlier, we have a ALU, we have a data memory, we have a processing unit, we have a different instruction memory as well. We have a IO devices as well, maybe the timers as well, but all of them are wrapped into a single chip, and this single chip we will be using for our application directly. What does that mean? that we yeah, and one more thing I want to explain over here. You may see that a difference about the memory part. We have a data memory over here and we have a instruction memory over here. So two different memory sections we are having, and why it is that we will be discussing into the next slide. But for the manipulation purpose, we have an arithmetic logic unit, and this arithmetic logic unit is having data memory connected to it. The instruction memory is also connected to it, and all of the parameters or all of the peripherals are connected to it internally. What it helps us for the faster execution, and all the data will be readily available, as there is no an external interface, we could say over here. That's why we could use this effectively, and the execution time for this process will be very less as compared to the microprocessor. Now coming back to the fundamentals, as I've explained you in the in this slide, that you may see that the memory sections, like here we have a register memory, but we do not we consider it as the main memory as well. But we do not have a separate memory as of microcontrollers. The data memory is different and the instruction memory is different. So that we will discuss into the memory architecture, how the microcontroller memory architecture has been placed, or how the microprocessor architecture has been placed. So here comes the two architecture. First is a von Neumann architecture, and second is the Harvard architecture. The basic difference between von Neumann architecture and the Harvard architecture is that the accessing of the memory. We may have a one memory section, but there are two types of data we consider for a controller or the processor to control or a process to happen. One is the instruction data, and the second is the program data. What does that mean? If you have written any application, and there are some register manipulation, that could be the data will be taking input and manipulating that will be the data input. But what if we want to give some instructions? So those instructions considered into the instruction memory. So these two aspects we need to consider when we are writing a code, or when we are architecturing one particular microcontroller and the processor. The microprocessor is mostly using von Neumann architecture. What does von Neumann architecture means? It is actually on the start, at the starting only, this architecture was we found out this particular architecture, where it's based on the stored program computer concept. It uses the same physical memory used for the instruction and data. What does that mean? The memory part or the memory will be common for the instruction data as well as the program data. Actually, there is a common bus for the data and the instruction to be transferred. So let's take an example over here. In this image, we have this memory, and in this memory we have a bus control over here. But there is only one memory section where we will be considering where we'll be storing the instructions and the data. And as there is only a single bus, at once, if we require a bus as well as instruction, so the controller or the bus control can only fetch one instruction per time. So that may get delayed, we may get a delayed output to process to provide inputs to the arithmetic logic unit. It is actually the von Neumann architecture. It's a bit cheaper in cost because there is only a single memory has been considered for this type of communication. And as I mentioned, with the CPU cannot access instruction, and if you want to read write any data, the program memory, it doesn't do that thing, because there is only single bus present, and the manipulation or the execution for the execution cycle does not allow that. It mostly we use the microprocessor use this type of architecture because the time constraint is not a it's not a what we can say, the time constraint is not an issue over here in the microprocessor. But why, when we consider microcontroller, it uses Harvard architecture. As I mentioned, in the one human architecture, we are having a single memory section, and memories in that memory section we will be having um, program data and as well as the instruction data. So it may have an issue of bottlenecking, like when we want when we want a program instruction or the read write, we may not do it in the single machine cycle. That's why, to avoid this particular issue, the Harvard architecture has been introduced. In this Harvard architecture, there are actually two different memories present. First memory is for dedicated memory for the instruction, a physical memory for the like memory instruction, and the different memory is for the data section. So because of these two memories, separate memories are present, we could solve this bottlenecking issue, and we can fetch the data actually at the same time when we want to read and write the things. So that is the advantage of Harvard architecture over von Neumann architecture. And as we mentioned, that microcontroller are the time we are using this microcontroller for the time critical or time bound activities or applications. The Harvard architecture is basically the advantage for it. So these two architectures are most important while we are considering the microcontroller, designing of the microcontroller and the microprocessor. The second most important thing is CISC versus RISC architecture. CISC is the complex instruction set computer, and RISC is the reduced instruction set computer. As its name suggests, CISC means complex instructions. So we are having a multiple instructions. Like when we want to communicate to the processor, where we want to make any process work for a processor or the controller, we provide some instructions to the processor or the controller or to the system for that by that way. Uh, the complex instruction set computer is basically focusing on the hardware part of it, like how it communicates and like whatever the easiness of computation. This CISC architecture is focusing on that part. Actually, the transistor are used for storing the complex instruction, like all these complex instructions. We have a transistor in place, and for that we use them for the storing purpose. The main and most important difference between CISC and RISC architecture is the variable size instructions. What does that mean? A CISC instruction, there could be the instruction could be of variable size. The instruction could be of 16-bit, it could be a 32-bit, or even it could be a 64-bit. So this instruction, when we use a multiple instruction, when we use for the division, or maybe use addition and subtraction, maybe the load and store, for that part we may require a different variable instruction sizes, and that may cause the problem. How? I will explain you in the later, but before that we will look into the RISC part as well. So the RISC part is the reduced instruction set, and the reduced instruction set is having only 1 byte of fixed size instruction. What is the advantage of RISC over CISC is that we all know that we have a program counter in place, and the program counter fetch all the upcoming instructions, and those upcoming instructions, if it is as per the CISC architecture, or maybe if it is a RISC architecture, the program counter will know there will be only one instruction we need to execute. As it's a fixed instruction set, the program counter and the implementation will be a bit easy. While in the CISC architecture, we are having variable size instructions, and because of that, the program counter to execute one particular task, it will be a bit difficult for a program counter to do. So this is the actually the effectiveness of using the conditions, or effectiveness of using the coding for the CISC and RISC architecture. To give you an example, if we want to multiply something in the CISC architecture or maybe in the RISC architecture, how we will do that? So in the CISC architecture, if we want to multiply the register data, then we'll just use the MUL instruction for multiplying the data, and the multiplication will occur. But the multiplication instruction is of variable size, so it could be of 64-bit or it could be a 32-bit. So accordingly, the program counter will fetch data and execute accordingly. But if we consider into the RISC architecture, we do not have a multiplication command. We need to use register for that purpose, and we need to first load the data into it, and we need to do the multiplications, manipulations to it, and then again need to store into it. So the single instruction for the CISC architecture, it could be a 4 or 5 lines of instruction into the RISC architecture. But the advantage over here is one instruction is of fixed size. That's why the program counter will be taking the inputs, and it is processing all the data with the help of the RISC architecture. The second point what we consider for the RISC and CISC is that the register manipulation. The RISC architecture can only manipulate for the register to register arithmetic operations. And while if we consider the CISC architecture, it can do the register to register and register to memory operations. So when I'm mentioning about the register and the memory, the registers are the internal part of the processor or the controller. So when we manipulate something, as I mentioned into the earlier slides, we are having the register memory for all the microprocessor and even the microcontroller as well. So the CISC and the RISC, we are talking about this particular memory section where the CISC architecture can perform the register to register operation, register to memory, or memory to memory operations, manipulations. It can be done. So RISC architecture, as I mentioned, for multiplication operation, the RISC architecture may require 4 to 5 lines of code or 4 to 5 instruction at once, while a CISC architecture can do it in a single instruction. So because of that, the RISC may require more number of registers, while the CISC requires less number of registers on that part. And in turn, it will for the RISC architecture, it will increase the code size. Where for the CISC architecture, we'll be considering considerably the code size will be small. So yes, so for a particular selection of microcontroller or the microprocessor, we need to consider ASIC as well as RISC architecture. But nowadays, as we see that there are many advancement happened into the memory part, for the use of the RISC architecture, memory will not be any constraint, and that's why most of the controllers, I would say, use RISC architecture only, while most of the even the processing part also uses the RISC architecture, as we do not have a memory constraints. It was a valid point when at the early 70s or 80s, where the transistors, we may not have leverage to have a good memory size, and that time this particular difference made an impact for selecting a particular microcontroller or a processor for a particular application. Now, design and manufacturing. We all know this microcontroller or microprocessor uses, or maybe the IC uses, a semiconductor processing. So it more or less the semiconductor devices, and on top of that, we do the manipulation, we do the printing, and we do all the designing part on the uh, silicon frame, and accordingly we do the manufacturing accordingly.